Yo, what it is, folks? In the great words of Sports PSP, welcome to the Undisputed GOAT podcast. We got our talent. We got the Scullies on. We ready to floss out and ball out, man. Look, man, this is a very, very special edition of the Undisputed GOAT podcast going up on a Thursday instead of a Sunday, man. And I could not do the Undisputed GOAT podcast without my fellow gentleman of Georgia, BRF Sports. How you doing today, brother?
Man, I'm gonna try something a little different. Hey, I'm doing good because you know what I'm saying. Hey, it's who we be. We two of the big three, and we represent that UGFP. Cause this how we do. I'm doing good, and I can't complain. Life's good right now.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And shout out to our main man, Flash Gordon, that is live from Wisconsin. I know he's freezing his butt off up there in Wisconsin right now. But look, we wish we could have him, but we know he got duties outside of the Undisputed GOAT podcast. He will rejoin us this Sunday, man. But for the meantime, look, man, let's just get right into it. There's been a lot
Let's
of
go.
speculation in basketball today. There's been a lot of speculation in basketball today, mainly with Giannis at this point in time, the Greek freak, because his agent just met with the Milwaukee Bucks franchise and discuss his future there. So I have to ask you this, man. Look, is Giannis gone? Let's just get right into it. Do you think he's gone?
I still think I still think a lot of it hinges on the Bucks as far as how they're playing as a team because it's not like they're playing bad ball, but it's kind of one of those situations where it's like he has to feel like he's on the same page with the front office as far as wanting to win because if he gets in, I feel like if he's getting any little bits and inklings like they're going to want to tear this down and they're not on the same page as far as want to continue to contend and win, he'll want I think he'll want to go someplace else. And it's crazy to think about it because Giannis always struck me as the kind of guy that kind of wanted to, he wanted to be a one team guy, play out his entire career at Milwaukee, but it's kind of everybody has a point where it's like you can only give so much if the front office isn't matching your energy. So it kind of sucks too because he just suffered a calf injury last night and he's going to be out about two. I think they said like 2 to 4 weeks. So it kind of sucks right now for him. I think this next couple of weeks in terms of the Bucks and how they play it's going to go a long way into seeing if he's going to stay or if he's going to want to get serious about trade demands, and then if he gets serious about it, will the front office actually help him as far as like getting on the same level with him as far as like trying to iron out details and see what they can do. So these next 2-3 weeks is I'm not gonna lie, it's probably the most important 2-3 weeks of the history of the Milwaukee Bucks franchise because if they kind of fall back a little bit, you kind of have to start entertaining the idea of him getting traded.
Can you see them making that one big trade that could steer him away from wanting to be traded? Can they make a big, huge trade in order to bring that, that second tier player that's going to kind of, push the team over a little bit? Can they make that trade? Or, is it just, hey, he just got to wait and see what's going on? Can they make that one big trade in order to steer Giannis away from wanting to be a free agent at this point or wanting to be traded? What trade can they make
Um,
in order to do so?
honestly, I don't, I don't know to be honest with you. I don't know if Milwaukee has it right now as far as like the pieces around him. I don't know if they have it. Oh, hold on. Hate to hold up the show, but give me 1 minute. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So to piggyback on what BRF was saying, they don't know if they can make that one big huge trade that is going to steer the Milwaukee Bucks in order to keep Giannis at this point. Because hey, it's been a long time. They went from a great defensive team to a very very mediocre team, and I really think a lot of that has to do with Doc Rivers at a certain point because he's not the coach from the previous regime, and they haven't had a lot of good coaching stability at a certain point. They had Jason Kidd for a couple of years. They had Mike Budenholzer for a couple of years. Not to mention, then they went from Budenholzer. Then they went from Adrian. Then they went to Adrian Griffin. They fired him in the middle of the season. Now they have Doc Rivers at this point. So you have to ask yourself, can they do something to stabilize this franchise in order for them not to have to trade Giannis at this point? Giannis is still in the prime of his career. He still got at least 6 to 7 years left, maybe even 8 or 9. So it would be a shame for him to waste his prime in Milwaukee. And if you really, really look at it, it would not be frowned upon if he asked for a trade. It should not be frowned upon. This is not like a LeBron James or a Kevin Durant type of situation where they're ring chasing. He has already won a ring at Milwaukee, a relatively small market that hadn't had anything since Oscar Robinson and the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So it shouldn't be frowned upon if he ends up asking for a trade at this point. I don't think it should be frowned upon. BRF, do you think it should be frowned upon if he asks for a trade at this point?
Absolutely not. He's done everything he could for that. He's canned for that franchise. I mean, they have gone so long without a championship, and he brought that city a championship. It shouldn't be frowned upon. I mean, he's given his heart and soul to that franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if anything, if he wanted to leave, if the front office isn't like I said earlier, like if the front office isn't going to match him as far as being able to really go out there and search to try to bring someone in to help him, if they're not going to match his energy as far as continuing to contend, I think you kind of owe it to him. You don't want to. You should to win. And I feel like
All right, we losing BRF a little bit, but to piggyback on his point, you read his BRF? All right, we can't hear you, BRF.
if you want. Hold on, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
All right.
but yeah, it shouldn't be. Yeah, him wanting a trade, it shouldn't be frowned upon.
I agree as well. But like I stated, he bought them a championship that they have not had since the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. They haven't not had a championship since Oscar Robinson and Kareem. So for him to bring a championship like that, for the record, without another top 75 player, without another top
Exactly.
75 player, he was essentially Akeem Olajuwon to the Milwaukee Bucks at this point. I mean, 95 Akeem Olajuwon, 94, 95 Akeem Olajuwon for that team. So I don't think it should be frowned upon if he asks for a trade, and even if he does go to a and even if he does go and make a super team somewhere, which we'll get into a little bit later somewhere later in the show. And to PSP's point, well, we'll get right into that. What is his next destination? Shout out to PSP, by the way. What do you think his next
Uh,
destination is? The Hawks, the Lakers, the Nets, the Spurs, as Sports PSP brought up. What do you think is his next destination?
um, if y'all follow my TikTok and please do BRF Sports. If y'all follow my TikTok, y'all saw I just recently made a video a couple days ago, and I picked 6 destinations who I feel like make the most sense as far as just kind of if you're looking at the opposite ends of the spectrum. One end of the spectrum is you want someone there to sell tickets, and then the other end of the spectrum, you're bringing him in as the final piece to contend for a championship. And I'm looking, and if I was to go from like worst chance to get him to best chance to get him, you look at the Nets, and then I would go Nets, and then I would go Lakers, and then I would go Knicks, Warriors, Hawks, Spurs. That's from worst shot to best shot.
Okay. What do you think? Look, because there has been, like we was talking right before the show started, Luca himself has asked the Lakers, "I want him. Go get him." What do you think that would do? Would that shake up the entire NBA, seeing Luca Doncic, and Giannis together in Los Angeles? Would that bring back Showtime in LA? Would that be a dynasty? What do you think? And what is their shot of even getting a player of that caliber coming off of the heels of that magnificent trade that they made in the form by getting Luca? And what did that mean for LeBron James in his time? I know I'm throwing a lot at
Um,
you at once, but yeah.
no, 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 no. You're good. if you're looking at the Los Angeles Lakers and you're looking at the pieces they have on that squad in order to acquire somebody like Giannis, I'd hate to say this to the Lakers, but I think if you're serious about a Giannis trade, Austin Reeves has to be the centerpiece of that deal. You have to make Austin Reeves the centerpiece of that deal, and it sucks because he's having a breakout year. He's like 27, 28, 6 and 6 right now.
Yeah.
He might be arguably the best second option in the league right now. But there's no way the LA Lakers are making a trade for Giannis and Austin Reeves not be the centerpiece of this deal. They're just no way. There's no way it happens. Like if you just wanted to kind of weigh the optics of a trade, like if I'm the Lakers and you're weighing your optics, like if you the way I rank all six, it's not necessarily the draft capital that they offer because anybody can give anybody draft capital at this stage of time. What you're looking at is young current assets that are on the roster that could possibly help you in the future. And the Lakers, the only one, in my opinion, they really have is Austin Reeves. Now you're looking at if you want to put something on top of that, if you're looking at getting rid of contracts, you got Rui Hachimura's contract, you got Gabe Vincent's contract, to where possibly if you clear that 29-30 million dollars off the cap, maybe you can go get somebody else on top of bringing in a Giannis to maybe do something. And I feel like with LeBron, I think at this stage in his career and the money he's making, you're probably not going to include him in any deals. So I mean, you got a shot. The only problem is your bench is gonna suck. That's the only downfall with the LA Lakers. You are not going to have the greatest bench. I mean, Luka, Giannis, Braun, a fourth option with that money you're clearing up if you include Rui and Gabe Vincent in the trade. And also you're looking at a guy like Jared Vanderbilt who's got like 25 million left on this deal. If you want to get rid of that money to maybe clear some more space and maybe get a fourth bona fide option there, you're just not going to have the greatest bench. So I feel like from that standpoint alone, I don't see the Lakers as a true viable option for Giannis Antetokounmpo. With the Lakers, it's the optics because it's LA, it's Showtime. They're one of the blue bloods of the NBA. I mean, it's the optics, and Luka and Giannis would instantly be the most dangerous force in terms of a duo in the NBA. The problem is outside of that, your depth is a little to say the least. So I don't think it's a real viable option with the Lakers.
What would it mean for LeBron to play with Luka and Giannis at this point in his career? Because it seems like as you look at LeBron right now, he's taking pretty much a backseat ride to Austin Reeves and Luka. He's taking that back step, and now look, it looks like and sometimes he's even the fourth option because they're feeding DeAndre Ayton. If you haven't paid attention to the Lakers, what would it
DeAndre,
mean?
shout out to DeAndre Ayton. I got to give it to him. He's helped kind of solidify that five for the Lakers so far this year. He's kind of exceeded my expectations as far as how good he's been so far. Um, if the Lakers were to land Giannis, this would be the Heatles on steroids. It would be the Heatles on steroids because as great as D Wade was when the Heatles were created, him and Bosch, because I mean, let's face it, people laugh at the idea when I say when the Heatles were created. Everybody knows D Wade was a top five player, but you can make a case that Chris Bosh at the time was a top five player. He was arguably in the conversation. And you can go back and look at the numbers, what he was putting up with the Toronto Raptors. He was in top five player in the league considerations. Let's just keep it all the way 100. So
Absolutely.
you're looking at a guy like Luka and a guy like Giannis, who are both, in my opinion, top five player in the world locks, arguably top three, depending on who you're talking about. For LeBron James at this stage in his career, it'd be the Heatles on steroids. Like if this was a van, Luka be driving the van, Giannis would be in the middle, and Braun would like seriously be in the back seat. He would be the third option. I mean, let's just keep it all the way 100 right here. He'd be option three because and I think it would suit him at this stage in his career because he could be like a true point. He could be like a true point forward and help facilitate. I mean, you got a guy like Luka who can facilitate and get teammates involved. I'll put it to you like this: they all have really good IQs. They're all like walking triple doubles waiting to happen. And I think that's probably one of the scariest aspects if they were to bring this team together. But I think for LeBron, he could really take a backseat and really he could really just focus on the facilitating and getting everybody involved because Luka's a really good off ball player. Giannis, he wouldn't necessarily have to worry about trying to, you know, take range and all that other stuff. He could be like a true interior player, and focus on the post and really being a true more of a true center in a system like the Lakers. So I mean, there's pros to acquiring Giannis if you're the Los Angeles Lakers. There's pros because Giannis could kind of help make things kind of fall into place more. But it's just like I said earlier, I don't think they want to get rid of Austin Reeves right now. I just don't think they want to get rid of him because I think Austin Reeves right now is too valuable for the future of the franchise. I don't think I. That's why I have the Lakers as the fifth best odds in terms of my six because I don't think they want to get rid of Austin Reeves right now.
Quick question, real quick, 30 seconds. If we were to trade for Giannis, let me rephrase the question: with or without Giannis, can the quest for six be completed for LeBron?
With
With or without Giannis being traded, can the quest for six be completed with LeBron?
uh, no, I'm no, I don't think so. I think the team as currently constructed is not going to get Braun another championship. To be honest with you, and even with a Giannis, you have to be as creative as possible to build that bench. So me personally, I don't see it. I don't see it with the Lakers.
Okay. We all know that my loyalty lies with the Lakers, but we all know as term as basketball, well, in football, we're both on the same end of the spectrum. We both Atlanta Falcons, Georgia Bulldogs. But in basketball, we differ. I had to lead the Hawk. I had to lead the Hawks along after what happened with Dominique, and I ain't looked back since. I was already a Laker fan, but I just couldn't cheer for them anymore after they traded my guy Nick. That's just being real. But can you see your guys, the Atlanta Hawks, making that run? And can that do a lot to take a lot of pressure off of Trey Young? And what would that mean for Trey Young, especially this at this stage of his career?
Champ, be prepared. What I'm about to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to drop a little bit of a pipe bomb here.
All right, let's hear it.
I think Trey Young is actually expendable in a Giannis trade.
Whoa, 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 whoa! You got too much dip on your chip. Don't do that.
Nah, I think Trey Young is expendable in a young. Look at what Jalen Johnson's doing this year, bro.
Damn.
Look at what Jalen Johnson is doing this year, and it's a shame that the Hawks have played better ball without Trey. But the Hawks are 13-9. The Hawks are like 13-10 now without Trey. They're playing good ball without him, so he is a little expendable right now. But I will say this: I give the Hawks the second best chance to get him, and it's because of young current roster pieces that they have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
If they were serious about getting him, they have Zachary Risachet, they have Onyeka Okongwu, they have an expiring contract in Christoph Porzingis, they have an unprotected first round pick, which is the worst of Milwaukee and New Orleans. They're guaranteed a top five pick because the New Orleans Pelicans are a bad team. So the Hawks are guaranteed a top five pick. That pick is guaranteed in the top five. So the Hawks have assets and they have draft capital because I feel like that 2026 unprotected first is one of the most valuable things that any team has in order to talk Milwaukee into a deal for Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I actually give the Hawks the second best chance to acquire Giannis because they have young pieces to go out and give to the Bucks in order to try and acquire Giannis. I give them a great chance if they're serious about it because this is how I feel about the Hawks. The best case scenario: Trey Young, Jalen Johnson, Giannis all together. is best case scenario. If they could keep that core together and give up one of Okongwu and Risashay, which in my opinion would probably be Risashay, but if you could imagine Okongwu, Trey, Giannis, and Jalen Johnson all on the floor, and then Dyson Daniels is your two guard. That's a balance of power in the Eastern Conference. That is a shift.
Yeah.
That is a shift. And I think the Hawks are instant Eastern Conference championship contenders if they pull off a trade with Giannis and they're able to keep Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu in the fold. I think it makes them instant Eastern Conference championship contenders. Instant.
Okay. What about San Antonio? Can you see them keeping that team intact with Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, Wimby? Can you see them keeping that team intact and still acquiring a Giannis? Or
I
would they
give
have
San
to keep him
Antonio I give San Antonio the best chance to get Giannis.
out? Okay.
I give San Antonio the best chance to get Giannis. And PSP had asked the question, thoughts on Giannis to San Antonio. And I'm gonna answer for you, PSP. I think the San Antonio Spurs have the best chance to get him because you look at the pieces that San Antonio has to offer. I think Dylan Harper will be the centerpiece of any trade.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it would be the easiest trade for the Milwaukee Bucks to make because if the San Antonio Spurs were willing to include Stephon Castle in the deal, I don't think San Antonio would have to give up any draft capital. When you're looking at a Dylan Harper, when you're looking at a Stephon Castle, one of either a Devin Vassell or a Keldon Johnson or somebody like that in the deal as well. I think the San Antonio Spurs will be the easiest deal to make for the Milwaukee Bucks. So I actually think the San Antonio Spurs have the best chance to get Giannis. And if you want to throw in some draft picks, by all means, throw in some draft picks because more than likely Milwaukee's going to go into a rebuild and they're going to want draft capital on top of that. But I personally think the San Antonio Spurs might be the easiest deal for the Milwaukee Bucks to make.
Okay. Now, look, I'm gonna ask this next question. Can you see an ultimate super team being formed with Giannis on the market at this point? Well, rumors swirling around him being on the market. Can you see a scenario where he's at Golden State, the Rockets, or OKC? Or should they even trade for him at this point? When you see an ultimate super team being brewed up somewhere, can we see this just team that just breaks the NBA at this point? Can you see something like that, man? I see your face right about now, and I know you kind of mad at me for asking that, but I had to put that in there, man. Can you see an ultimate super team being formed?
I am mad at this question because the Oklahoma City Thunder scare the ever loving hell out of me. The Oklahoma City Thunder, I swear to God, can do this. The Oklahoma City Thunder can do this because they have so much draft capital and they have young pieces that if they were really serious about Giannis, they can move. Um, the Oklahoma City Thunder scare me. They honest to God scare me because Oklahoma City can do this. I also think Golden State can do this because they have Kuminga, they have Moody, they have Pajemski, they have Brandon Pajemski that they can acquire, that they can offer. So they have young pieces, they have draft capital. In terms of expiring contracts, I don't see, like, you got Draymond Green. He's kind of near the end of his career. I don't think at this point teams are going to want to. I don't think Milwaukee will want to try to acquire him and take his money on. Jimmy Butler is enticing, but I mean it's $111 million left on his deal, and I feel like with a contract like his, you would have to get a third team involved. So I don't really see the Golden State happening. Houston, a more realistic deal for Houston if they want to pursue it is reuniting Kevin Durant and James Harden.
Okay.
I think that's a more realistic. I think that's a more realistic avenue to bring James Harden back in the fold in Houston and reunite him with Kevin Durant. I think James Harden is a more realistic possibility. Giannis, I think Giannis is just going to be one of these. If the trade goes down, the list is like the trade is going to be like yay long in terms of like what a team's going to have to give up to get him. So Golden State is a possibility. As good as Oklahoma City already are, they are actually a possibility as well because they have about 5 6 years of draft capital that they could just say, here, you want a full blown rebuild, have it. Just give us Giannis. And that Oklahoma City team, like if they didn't have to give up any of their pieces, Shea, J Dub, Chet, and Giannis on the same team, pack up the Western Conference if that happens. Just pack it up.
Hey, I agree with you. One quick question before we move on to the next segment. Look, we all know that the OKC Thunder, the reigning champions, have only lost one game, right? Can you see them breaking Steph Curry's record, Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors records this year and winning 74 games this year? Or can they win? Can they do the unthinkable and win 75? What do you think?
The way that team is constructed and how disciplined they are, and how they play ball, it's a possibility. I know at least 70 wins with this squad is a possibility because they have it all. They have the coaching, they have the players. I mean, just everything right now is kind of falling into place for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it's not just the starters; it's the depth they have. Because you look at Shea, you look at Jalen Williams, you look at Chet Holmgren, but then on top of that, you got AJ Mitchell balling. You got Isaiah Joe. You got Isaiah Hartenstein. You have Alex Caruso coming off the bench. You have the other Jalen Williams coming off the bench. Oklahoma City is about as deep a team as we've seen in a long time. But then they have the coaching staff on top of that. So the Oklahoma City Thunder scared me, and I really think they could make a push for the 73-9 single season record. I think they have a shot. I will say this though, with the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're going to get a team's best every single night, so they're going to have to stay on their A game in terms of just their execution. I mean, their execution, their ability to pick and roll, their ability to transition. They do everything well. They play defense. They shoot the ball, and people want to criticize Shea for the fouls and the free throws and all this stuff. But I mean, hey, if you can do it, you can just do it. So yeah, the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think, have a real shot to challenge that record.
Yes, indeed, man. And look, in regards to the Oklahoma City Thunder, can you see them? And how significant would it be for a small market like OKC to become a dynasty if they were to become like, let's say, a Los Angeles Lakers or even a Golden State Warriors or even a Chicago Bulls of this generation? What would it say about that franchise? It going from Seattle, which was a bigger market, to now going to a small market, especially in Oklahoma. If you know Oklahoma like we do, we're SEC football guys. You know that Oklahoma it's about that pigskin. It's about that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So for them to win and be a dynasty in that Oklahoma City market where, football is virtually king, although they don't have a pro team in that area, what would it mean to that dynasty? And what would it mean to Sam Presti's legacy? Would he be considered better than Jerry Krause at this point?
Sam Presti would be in that tier.
Mm,
I think Sam Presti would be in that tier because when Oklahoma City was going through those bad years, it was almost like Sam Presti was kind of like he was just cooking in the background, acquiring picks, acquiring draft capital, and then I think and then the Shea Gilgis Alexander trade with the Clippers, that Paul George deal was really finally the piece to say, okay, here we go. Now let's see what we can go from here. We got our guy that we're going to try to build this franchise around. Let's see what we can do. And then nailing Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren in the draft was kind of like icing on the cake. And now you got a core that are all highly skilled, and like they're all highly skilled two-way players. They're all really good offensively, and they're all really good defensively. And I think you couldn't ask for anything better than that. So for Sam Presti's legacy, I think he's in that tier in terms of greatest executives in the history of the game. If he could pull this off in Oklahoma City, because it's like when they were like the 76ers, when it was whole the process. Oklahoma City did it right.
yeah.
They did it right. Like where Philadelphia took missteps and they didn't nail the ultimate goal. Oklahoma City did it.
Yeah.
So Oklahoma City and those fans, like you know those fans like getting the Seattle Supersonics, who are like one of the more beloved franchises in the history of the league. They're moving to Oklahoma City. And then the history that franchise has already had being in Oklahoma City, whether it's having Kevin Durant, having Russell Westbrook, having James Harden, having Serge Ibaka, that team that was like that was kind of ruling over the early to mid 2000s and just couldn't get the job done. This will mean a lot to that city and those fans. So I think if Sam Presti pulled this off, it puts him in the upper echelon in terms of greatest execs ever.
Yes, indeed. And when you think about Sam Presti, he did the process without the team having to be irrelevant for so many years. Remember, during those years, during the Oklahoma City process, they had Chris Paul, and they transitioned from Russell Westbrook to Chris Paul, and they were still making the playoffs. They were still making the playoffs. There was never a time during that quote unquote process, I would say, where they were irrelevant at a certain point. So when you put all of that into perspective, they were able to not only have a process during that time, but they were able to remain relatively relevant at a certain point, and that still drew in the fans because not only were you selling hope, you were selling winning as well because they had the capability of getting to the playoffs and potentially getting out of the first round. Now you knew they wasn't going any further than that during those Chris Paul years, but yet still that gave the fans hope and they gave them winning at the same time, which was probably the greatest process, arguably in league history. Versus a lot of teams, they're taking for the next person, they're taking for the next person, and they're taking and taking and taking for the next 2 to 3 years. They did it in a way where, hey, we're building, but we're giving the fans, hey, this is hope. We're gonna give you hope, but we're gonna give you winning as well. And I think that was a perfect combination.
Exactly. You can't beat what Oklahoma City's been able to do right now. It's scouting. It's the personnel department. Just everybody, top to bottom, just being on the same page as far as their scouting and understanding players and their roles and what they're going to bring to the table and just nailing everything on cue. And now you're just seeing the results with them winning the championship last year and now only having one loss, being what like 18-1. I mean, it's a testament. It's a testament to the brain sense, to the brain trust of that franchise. It's just a testament to how good they've been.
Okay. Quick question. Can the Milwaukee Bucks do this? This is a long shot, but there's another superstar that is virtually looking unhappy these days in the Western Conference. And that's a guy by the name of John Morant. Can you
Mm.
see the Milwaukee Bucks potentially making the trade to add an offensive onslaught like John Morant, or has he peaked at a certain point where it's just like, hey, he's kind of peaked. The teams are looking at him as, yeah, the name is good, but when you look at him outside of ISO, he hasn't added a lot more dimensions to his game like he should have. His mid range is mid to say the least. He doesn't have that outside shooting. And like I stated, once you take that ISO away from him, he's pretty much average at a certain point. I don't want to say average, but he's ordinary, and he has trouble playing within the parameters of the system. Can you see that making a difference between Giannis leaving or staying in Milwaukee? Or can you see the flip side of that coin, considering what not Milwaukee, but Memphis got for Desmond Bain? Can you see them capitalizing and using that draft capital that they got for Desmond Bain in order to make that trade, in order to get Giannis, in order to keep John Morant happy and keep him in Memphis? And how would that combination go, if you don't mind me asking?
Jaw is a good playmaker. I don't know if he's the level playmaker that can truly succeed with somebody like Giannis. I think at this point with Memphis, I think they're almost at a blow it up capacity with that franchise because I think Jared Jackson Jr.'s asked for a trade. So I think at this point they're kind of at that level where I think they should just blow it up together. I don't think Giannis is really going to save that franchise. They need a restart. They need a restart. I think they need to start over. And I mean, and they have good young players there. They have Jalen Wells. They have Zach Edey. They have Santi Aldama. I mean, they have good young talent there. But I just feel like right now with the Memphis Grizzlies, I think they need to consider more of a restart than trying to bring in someone like Giannis to try to salvage John Moran at this point. I think you have to restart that franchise.
Okay. where can you see? I know this is more a Giannis type of thing, but where do you see John Morant going? Because people keep talking about it. Look, let's just be clear. I'm a Laker fan, but look, that would just fuck up the chemistry of that team. But you have to excuse my language on that, but that would fuck up the chemistry of that Laker team if you brought in John Morant. I'm just gonna be real. But where can you see him going at this point in order to not only salvage, to not only for the Memphis Grizzlies in order to salvage their team, but for him to salvage his career? There's been suspensions. There's been a lot of controversies with the weapons. There's been a lot of controversies with John Moran at this point. Where can you see him going in order to salvage his career and kind of bring his career back to life? So not only that he's considered not just an all-star, but an all NBA type of player, but a media darling once again. Because before all the little gun incidents, you could have saw him being the face of the NBA. But since those gun incidents, the suspensions, and him being suspended earlier in the season, he's kind of fell out of the graces with the media at a certain point. Where can you see him going?
Um, that's a good question because with Ja, it's got to be the right fit. It's got to be a team with some structure to it in the front office. You can't send him anywhere, and that's a good question. I don't know what jumps out at the top of my.
Miami.
Um, I think Minnesota would be a better fit.
Okay.
I think Minnesota would be a better fit. Miami wouldn't be so bad. Um, if I pick one spot, I would say Minnesota, but I don't know what Ja right now at this stage. I mean, it's like he's just yeah, like you said, the game hasn't really evolved like you thought, like you thought it was going to at this point in his career, and that's the one thing that I kind of hate because I thought he was about to just take off. So yeah, I would say Minnesota if I had to put a team on the spot.
Okay. So look, there's a common thread with the Milwaukee Bucks. First Kareem got traded. Then you get into those early teams with Ben Baker and Ray Allen. They get traded. Then you go to Giannis. Now there's rumors that he's requested to be traded at this point. Is there just a common thread with the Milwaukee Bucks at this point? It, that they just cannot keep superstars and they can't keep them happy. And what is the main reason why they can't keep their superstars on the roster? Why can't they keep those guys happy? Like I stated, it's more than just Kareem. Kareem is just the biggest name that we think about. When you think about Ben Baker, Sam Cassell, Ray Allen, just to name a few. I mean, Darwin. I remember before he went to Detroit and played for the Detroit Pistons, you had Duncan Darvin Ham, who unfortunately was the coach of the Lakers at a certain point. So with all of those stars that they've had, and they have had to end up trading them at a certain point, and some of them, especially Kareem is the poster boy of it. They went somewhere and found success elsewhere. Kareem won 5 titles in Los Angeles. Ben Baker, he became lethargic in Seattle, so you really didn't see what he was you know, when he was in Milwaukee. He kind of flamed out when he got to Seattle. Ray Allen, on the other hand, became the cornerstone of that Boston team with the big three. And, he came off the bench when he went to Miami. He found success. Sam Cassell found success on that same team when he went to the Boston Celtics, excuse me. And now Giannis.
That's the Celtics.
They keep superstars. What is missing with that organization that they cannot keep superstars?
Oh, it's Milwaukee. I mean, just they're not like I hate to say that about the Milwaukee Bucks, but they're not on the level as far as like other cities in terms of just keeping quality talented ball players. I mean, they're not on the level of a city like a Miami or like a Dallas, for that matter, or like an LA, a New York, or Boston. I mean, they're just kind of like they're like one of those. You hate to say that about Milwaukee because I'm not saying it's not a good town, but Milwaukee just isn't like that haven of just man. Let's go to Miami. Let's go to Milwaukee. They got this and this and this and this. Like you don't think about Miami as far as like offering just being a haven, that quintessential stop for a quality ball player to go and really want to just settle there and take his game to the next level. I think they lucked out with someone like Giannis because he was drafted and he was homegrown and he turned into what he's turned into. They've lucked out big time with Giannis. I think it's just a matter of just gosh, what's the word I'm thinking of? Just promotability. I think it's a word. It's the word I'm thinking of when it comes to a city like Milwaukee. It's just one of those where it's like, yeah, they've had really good players, but when it's time to really pay them and convince them to stay, of course they're going to pick the bigger markets to go because that's where the money is, that's where the marketing is, that's where the promotability is, and ultimately in a lot of situations is where the stability is in terms of being able to build a team and to be able to compete longer than 3, 4, 5 years. So I just think it's a lot that weighs into why Milwaukee hasn't necessarily been that haven to be able to bring in and keep budding superstars.
When you think about the superstars that they've lost, not only have they had these superstars and lost them, but they have not been able to, despite those superstars being top three, top four, top five players. Well, outside of Kareem, because he was there with Oscar. But when you think about Ray Allen, when you think about Ben Baker, that team that they had, and then Giannis moving forward, does it say more about the organization that you have these big time ass superstars and you can't attract that one big free agent that's going to keep them there, or does that say more about the superstar that's there that they don't think they're on par? Is what I'm trying to say is, do you think that that's an indictment a little bit on the superstar where a person is really not able to say, hey, I'll sacrifice going to a small market to play with a player of this caliber? Because if I'm a point guard, if I'm a shooting guard, I want to play with a Giannis. I would want him. I would have wanted to play with a Van Baker and a Ray Allen. So does that say more about the superstar of today, or more about the organization that although you have these big time superstars and these big names, you can't attract a free agent to go along with these guys?
It's a it's a combination, but I think ultimately it comes down to the city. The city. I think it ultimately comes down to the city. Um, like because it's kind of hard to answer. I think it ultimately comes. It's a combination because I feel like to a certain extent, Milwaukee has been good in a lot of seasons, and you would think, with the success that they've had in spurts, that they might have been able to really kind of hang on to certain talents and maybe build on that, and build more of a sustained kind of success drive, like particularly like the 2000 2001 squads when you're looking at like Ray Allen and Big Dog Glenn Robinson, the talent teams like that who
Yeah,
some people feel like should have beat the 76ers in that Eastern Conference Final series. So I think it's just really it's a combination. It's a combination of a lot of factors that kind of weigh in and kind of it takes a toll on the franchise and it takes a toll on the fans because Milwaukee has had some really good teams there. So
yeah.
I think it's one of those things where it's just a bunch of different factors and you can't really just single out one.
Yeah, they've had a hell of a lot of players. When you think about Kareem, Oscar Robertson, Ray Allen, Ben Baker, the big dog, Glenn Robinson, Giannis, Sam Cassell, and let's not forget Sidney Moncrief.
Right.
Let's not forget Sidney Ron and Terry Cummings.
And Terry Cummings.
Let's not forget those guys. Sidney Moncrief, arguably one of the best defensive players in the NBA in the history of the NBA. So with those great players that have been there, it's kind of hard to believe that you just can't attract that one additional free agents that's gonna just blow this thing out the water. That's just gonna make your team just unbeatable at a certain point. So and it's shocking to see considering the talent that they've had. So I have this one last question I want to ask you, BRF, you being the guru that you are. If he is
Okay.
traded, if he is traded, is this the biggest power shift? Is this the biggest shift of power in NBA history? Like, can this shift the NBA much like what Chamberlain shifted when he went to Los Angeles, like Kareem did when he went to Los Angeles? Hell, I dare to say like Luca. as he's going to Los Angeles, can you see this trade being a great shift of power when it comes to the NBA? Or would it be like, well, will another team get him and it'd be like a popcorn fart at church? What do you think? Can this be the
See,
big shift?
you adding that little piece of the puzzle there, it kind of helps as far as like answering this question. It depends on where he goes. It depends on where he goes. If it's someplace like a Boston, or if it's someplace like a Boston, or even a Golden State for that matter, I don't think it would shift the power like if he was to go to like a San Antonio or even in Atlanta in the East. I think if he went to Atlanta in the East, I think it would be a bigger shift. I think it would be a bigger shift of Eastern Conference power if he went to the Atlanta Hawks. But I think the one deal, if I'm the NBA and I'm teams that are trying to win and trying to really make a name for themselves and compete, the one team you do not want Giannis to go. There's two. You don't want him to go to San Antonio. You don't want him to go to Oklahoma City. If he goes to either one of those teams, if he goes to Oklahoma City, you might as well just pack the Western Conference up for the next 3 to 6 years. Just pack it up. If he goes to San Antonio, you're possibly looking at San Antonio versus OKC for the next 5, 6 years.
Okay. All right. Look, let me ask this one pipe bomb question. Pipe bomb. I got to throw one in there. I'm not gonna let us have a good show. I'm not gonna let it be smooth. I got to start some shit. Can you see the Boston Celtics giving up Jalen Brown in order to get Giannis?
No, I
Okay.
don't. I don't. Because I don't know. I feel like with the Boston Celtics, I think the thing with them is if you get Giannis, now how do you make it work when Jason Tatum comes back? I think, and that's like a biggest thing. It's a big thing. How do you make that work with Tatum coming back? I don't think I don't think Boston's ready to park that ship yet.
Okay.
I think they want what they're doing now. I think this is Jalen Brown's audition as like, okay, Tatum's out. He's not going to be back at least this season, possibly middle of next season. I mean, it's an Achilles. So that's going to take a while for him to get back and get back settled and be what he was before the injury. But I tell you, Jalen Brown has been really, really, really good for Boston this year. I mean, I think he's right now 35-5. Jalen Brown's been amazing so far this year. So I think they want to see this version of Jalen Brown with a fully healthy Jason Tatum when he comes back. And can they get back to an NBA championship with this version of Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum? So I'm not going to put Boston in the Giannis mix. I don't. I'm not going to put them in the Giannis mix. I can't do it with Boston right now.
Okay. All right. I get that, man. Look, I had to drop that pipe bomb on you, man. Like I
It
said,
was a good question though. It was a good question though.
I'm not going to let us have a smooth show. I'm never going to do that, man. But man, look, man, that concludes the Undisputed Goat podcast, man. Hope y'all enjoyed the show, man. If you're in the viewer right now, if you're watching us right now, we would really appreciate if you hit that like and that subscribe button, man. We appreciate entertaining y'all. We love entertaining you, the fan. Dropping a lot of this football and basketball as for today knowledge on you guys, man. It was an exciting time, man. But unfortunately, in the great words of Morris Day, we ain't got to go home. What we got to get the hell out of here. Any last word for you, BRF?
Um, Thank you. From a personal level, thank you for coming up with the idea of this show because I ain't gonna lie, it means a lot to it meant a lot to want to do a show like this and kind of capitalizing on something that I just did because it was something I wanted to do, and you being the brother that you are, wanting to really like kind of bring it to the forefront and kind of really delve on this subject because it's a really big subject. And they're going to be talking about this for the next month now with Giannis being on the show. So it's something that I'm going to be really, 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 really focusing on and keeping an eye on. And I really want to see how this transpires because, like I said in my video, this could be something that could shape the league for the next 5 years, depending on where he goes. This is something that we really needed to talk about. It's something we needed to dive into and really kind of sink our teeth in. I feel like the NBA trade deadline as a whole is going to be massive this year. So
Mhm.
hopefully down the line, when we're getting close to the trade deadline, we're diving into this more because I really feel like this could be a really, really, really good deadline because there are going to be teams that have really good players that are going to be out of it that could really take a team from being in the play-in to making top six without even having to go into play-in. So this is going to be a really big year, especially around the trade deadline. So I think it was really cool that you came to me and came with the idea after you saw my video, and it's like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's devote about 45 to an hour to this. Let's dive into it. Let's give our thoughts on it and really have fun with this. So hey, this was fun. This was fun. And shout out to our homie Flash, man. Cause this is your squad right here, bro. This is the Milwaukee Bucks. This is one of your teams.
Yes.
So so yeah. Like Champ said, the big three of the UGSP will be back this coming Sunday night. But with that being said, man, it was fun. It was fun. Hey, it's like I always say, and it couldn't be any more truer. A topic not thought about is a topic not talked about, people.
Yes, indeed, man. And shout out to our main man, Sports PSP, now at 160,000 followers on YouTube, man. And we will be joining him tomorrow night on the Sports PSP podcast, the highlight of Friday night. And 2 days after that, we'll be coming with the heat on Sunday night. But on that note, we will holler at y'all. We will see y'all tomorrow night on none other than the Sports PSP podcast, man. Holler at a player when you see me in the streets. Ah.